want to invite a very special guest on stage. Can you please join me in welcoming Meghan, Duchess of Sussex?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here bright and early. I know some of you probably had late nights last night, so extra thanks for the effort. Nothing that a little cookies and coffee can't help. Look, my husband and I and Art12 Productions, we are so proud and privileged to be able to support and uplift Cookie Queens. This film, yes, is probably the cutest at the festival, but I'm also going to go out on a limb and say it is one of the most powerful and meaningful depictions of something that is an American tradition and rooted in nostalgia, but is now put through this lens from the incredible creative vision of Alyssa to show something modernized about the girlhood experience and all the layers and complexity that come with that. So yes, it's cute, and yes, these young ladies are fantastic and adorable, but they are also layered, beautiful girls who are about to become very strong leaders and young women. So thank you for supporting that. A huge thanks to our team at Art12 Productions, Chanel, Wesley, Q, we love you guys, thank you so much for everything. Josh Braun, Maggie Pisacane, and then of course the producers. This film is such a labor of love they have worked on for a couple of years, and with all of the hundreds of hours of trusted fly-on-the-wall material that they were able to capture with these families that let them in and allowed them to show and share their lives and their loves. I think the editorial in this that you'll see is also something pretty outstanding. But that is all testament to the talent and expertise of the director, Alyssa Namias, who is here today, and I'm so excited to introduce her to you. Please give her a big round of applause.
Hello, Sundance.
Now, pause everything. Did you hear that reception? That was not polite clapping. That was not forced applause. That was not courtesy noise. That was loud cheers and genuine applause at the Sundance Film Festival as Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, was introduced. And right there, before she even spoke, one of the most persistent and dishonest media narratives collapsed in real time. Because we have been told repeatedly, aggressively, and often maliciously that Meghan is somehow unpopular, divisive, awkward, or unwanted. And yet here we are, in one of the most respected creative spaces in the world, surrounded by filmmakers, critics, programmers, and industry professionals, applauding her like they know exactly who she is and why she belongs there. Because they do. Let's start with context, because context is everything, and it's the first thing the media loves to strip away. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, was not at Sundance as a celebrity guest. She was not there for optics. She was not there to be seen. She was there as a producer, representing Archwell Productions, supporting the documentary Cookie Queens. And she was introduced by Kim Yutani, Director of Programming at Sundance. That title alone matters. Programming directors are gatekeepers. They decide what stories get told and who gets platformed. They don't attach their names to people or projects lightly. This is not charity. This is credibility. Now let's talk about how Meghan opens her remarks, because this is where you immediately see why she commands rooms so naturally. She thanks people for being there early. She acknowledges late nights. She makes a light human joke about cookies and coffee. That might sound small, but it's not. That is emotional intelligence. That is someone reading the room instantly and meeting people where they are. She doesn't rush. She doesn't overperform. She doesn't posture. She establishes warmth and connection in seconds. That's what confident public speaking looks like. Not stiffness, not grandeur, not insecurity, just presence. Then she pivots, smoothly, intentionally, into purpose. She speaks about Archwell Productions being proud and privileged to support and uplift Cookie Queens. Notice the language: support, uplift. She doesn't frame Archwell as the center of the story. She frames it as a platform, a facilitator, a backer of meaningful work. That matters deeply in creative spaces like Sundance, where authenticity is currency. Then comes the part that really shows her articulation and media literacy. She acknowledges that yes, the film is cute. Yes, it's adorable, but she refuses to stop there. She reframes it as one of the most powerful and meaningful depictions of an American tradition rooted in nostalgia, modernized through girlhood, and layered with complexity. That is not casual language. That is someone who understands narrative framing. She is guiding the audience on how to view the film, not telling them what to think, but inviting them to look deeper. She connects tradition to modernity, nostalgia to growth, girlhood to leadership. That's cultural analysis. That's storytelling intelligence. And then, and this is important, she talks about the girls, not as props, not as symbols, not as cute moments. She calls them layered, beautiful, future leaders, young women in the making. She refuses to flatten them. She refuses to infantilize them. She refuses to strip them of complexity. That is intentional, and it matters. Because too often, stories about girls are treated as less serious, less meaningful, less worthy of critical engagement. Meghan directly challenges that assumption, calmly, clearly, without preaching. Then she thanks the people who made the film possible, and this is where real leadership shows up. She names names. She thanks her team at Archwell Productions. She acknowledges the producers. She praises the director, Alyssa Namias. She highlights the families who allowed cameras into their lives. She talks about trust, about hundreds of hours of footage, about access and vulnerability. That is ethical storytelling language. That is someone who understands that documentaries are built on relationships, not extraction. She doesn't take credit. She distributes it. She doesn't dominate the moment. She elevates others. And she closes without ego. She doesn't oversell. She doesn't linger. She redirects attention back to the film and its creator. Confidence without arrogance. Authority without domination. Now let's address the part the media doesn't want to talk about. Why does this moment matter so much? Because it directly contradicts the narrative we've been force-fed for years. If Meghan were truly rejected, she would not be welcomed at Sundance. If she were irrelevant, she would not be producing films. If she were awkward, she would not command rooms so effortlessly. If she were unserious, industry professionals would not respond to her with respect. You cannot fake applause like that. You cannot script audience warmth. You cannot spin real-time reception. And notice something else. This wasn't a royal event. This wasn't ceremonial. This wasn't obligation. This was a professional, creative environment responding to someone they respect. And that's the part certain commentators can't handle. Because Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, thrives in global, professional, creative spaces, spaces that value substance, collaboration, and purpose over scandal. That's why these moments are often minimized, ignored, or distorted in coverage, because they don't fit the storyline. But the reality is louder than the narrative, literally. Also, can we talk about her calm? No rushing, no nerves, no overcompensation, just grounded presence. That doesn't come from rehearsal alone. That comes from knowing why you're there, from doing work that aligns with your values, from not needing validation. She doesn't need to convince that room of her worth. She's already earned it. And that brings us to Archwell Productions. Because this is not about chasing spectacle. This is not about blockbuster hype. This is about intentional storytelling. Human stories. Voices that don't always get amplified. This is a production company investing in meaning, not noise. And that's exactly why Meghan continues to be welcomed in serious spaces and attacked in unserious ones. Because substance exposes shallow criticism every time. So the next time someone claims Meghan is unwanted, remember this moment. Remember the applause. Remember the confidence. Remember the clarity. Remember the respect in that room. Because while tabloids shout, the work continues, and the applause tells the real story. Thank you for watching.